Hey everyone, I am Vixolent and welcome back to my humble little channel. It has been a while. So lately I've been thinking about winning the lottery. Well, who hasn't at some point thought about winning the lottery? Wouldn't it be nice to just write down some numbers on a piece of paper and then find out a week later that you're $2, $3, $4 million richer. But then you have to obviously predict those numbers. And well, I mean, you can't because they're completely random. But what if I told you that the lottery numbers aren't as accurately random as they could be? Now, to expand on this, think of a number between 1 and 10 randomly. You're thinking of the number 7.
What? How does he know that?
45% of the time, people will think of the number 7 between 1 and 10. So that shows some bias towards that number in our brains. I think there's a bigger video in that. I can say that 45% of you may have thought of the number 7, and to the others, probably feeling a little bit left out right now. I'm sorry. So I guess you could say that showing bias over some numbers over the others isn't quite random. If I were to say grab a coin and then flip it thousands of times and tell you that it's 50-50, heads or tails, but then 75% of the time, heads shows up. You would either think that I'm doing something to the coin or the coin itself is loaded in some way, but you wouldn't call it random. You would say that it's more predictable, thinking that heads will show up more or less. So with this in mind and thinking again about the lottery, I went online and found thousands and thousands of generated numbers from the lottery way back until the year 2000. I then wrote a program which went through all those numbers and logged each time that one of them came out. But while it's doing that, I also got it to generate its own random numbers. So at the end, I had two lists, one made from the lottery itself, saying that these are the random numbers, and then the random numbers that my computer generated. So at the end, when you compare the numbers, you'd expect to see that they came out roughly the same amount of times because it's all random and all numbers have the same chance to come out. But this was the pretty little graph that I made. So in this graph, the blue line are the lottery numbers and the red line is the computer generated random numbers. So why are they different? Why is the blue line showing some bias in some areas and negative bias in others, if negative bias is even a thing? So for me, I think it just comes down to the way at which these numbers are generated. In the lottery, you've got this big circle and then spinning balls in the middle, and then this host goes over and picks out the ball, or it falls down and says, this is the number. Great. To maybe the manufacturing process. Some specific balls have got more ink on the number on them. Those slight differences between these balls may cause a bigger difference over time. Of course, that's just theory, but because it's a physical process which is going on, there's more at play that are going to influence the randomness of it. With your computer and the way it generates numbers is you can't just tell it, give me a number. Like, what number will the computer give you? It needs to have some sort of process to come to a number. So you need some starting number, and that number needs to change every time, so you get a different random number. So the most common changing number on your computer currently is the time. More specifically, the Unix epoch was January 1st, 1970. The milliseconds since that time is stored on your computer somewhere, depending on the computer you have. And quite a lot of the random number generators just use that number and then run it through some programs, through some processes and stuff, and it comes out with a random number at the end. But then, wait a minute. So if I use that random number generator, I know what the input is. And if I find out what the algorithm is, I could calculate what the end number would be. It wouldn't be random. So then the more you know about a system, does it make it less random? So something's only random when we can't predict it because we don't know enough about it. And that's where a demon comes in. I know, right? This channel's nuts, talking about demons and numbers and Anyway, so there was a French mathematician and physicist called Laplace. And he envisioned a demon that knew everything about the universe in terms of atoms' positions and their momentum. That demon would then know the entire history of the universe and the entire future of the universe because it has all the information there is, and it can calculate with their momentums and how they interact with each other, the positions of those atoms in the future. To that demon, the lottery wouldn't be random at all. It would know all the numbers that are going to come out because it knows everything there is to know about that system. But I guess to find true random, when it comes down to the absolute quantum level of the universe, there are quantum particles that their positions and spin only exist once we try to get the information from them. So once we measure the information, that's when that information exists. Well, actually, I'm not even qualified to start talking about quantum physics, but at that level of the universe, that is where true randomness happens. Anyway, ending the video there. Next time your friend rocks up to you and says something random and then they're all like, oh my god, I'm so random, dude. Was that actually a random thing they just said, or was their brain predetermined, set in a state to say those random things? Was it even an original thought that they had? Is there even such thing as free will? Or the particles in our brains just always going to... That's a video for a different time. For now though, I'm just gonna leave it there. Thanks for the chat. I might continue working on this program actually to see if I can scratch out the unrandom randomness of the lottery. Or I mean, you know, just don't gamble. Either way. But click subscribe, because if I do that, I'll just give it to you guys for free or something in the description. Yeah. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. I'm Vixolent, and I will see you sometime in the future.